While I've been messing around with odds and ends, I thought I'd show you this, which is the two little scraps of wood. Well, the one is yew heartwood and the other one is a bit of ash from the previous project. So I've just glued them up as a skinny little ash-backed yew. Well, it's going to be very narrow, sort of English long bow, stick bow sort of thing. Let's just have a feel, see how it bends. Yeah, I feel that's quite stiff. That should be interesting. I'll probably just clean it up on the belt sander and stick it on the tiller, see what it'll turn out at. You never know, it could be a pleasant surprise. There we are, that's what it looks like after a damn good thrashing on the belt sander. It's vaguely tapered, a bit thicker in the middle than elsewhere. It's vaguely sort of straight, sort of slightly S-shaped. I'll clean up the tips and stick some temporary knocks on it and we'll have a little go on the tiller. Oh, and it might even make, I don't know, 35, maybe even 40 pounds. A bit of a little thin patch there, a bit narrow there. But I can always lose a little bit of length off this end, say, to make that narrow bit nearer the tip and, you know, move the tip in. We'll see, bit of fun. This is my skinny little needle bow made out of a offcut of yew from the side of a stave, and similarly an offcut of ash. There's a narrow thin point there. I think this is going to be the upper limb because this limb's quite a bit wider, but it's just sort of roughly tapered by eye when I sanded it for the glue up, and I've cleaned it up on the belt sander. This is literally the first time we'll have a shufty at it. It's actually, that's not bending too bad. Lower limb looks quite nice. That's £30. That left limb actually looks quite pretty. The right limb, most of the bend in the middle, outer limb much too stiff, but you can see it's thick anyway. That's surprisingly good. I was thinking we might even get a 35 pounder out of that. The whole thing's only 55 inches long, and if you go on the rule of thumb that an almost perfectly tillered bow that you can bend in the grip made by a good bowyer, you can just about get the draw length will be half the length of the bow. There are occasions when you can get more than that if you've got a very light draw weight, but it's a good rule of thumb. If you're a beginner, you want to add at least an extra 10% of bow length to twice the draw length. So this might make, say, I don't know, 27-inch draw reasonably. But that doesn't look too bad. It's self-evidently you can see it's thicker in some places, but that's always deceptive. Because yes, you look at the thickness, it's obviously thick there, but is it narrow? You can't see everything at once. This limb's generally, well, I'll show you. The whole thing's a strange shape. It's that limb's got a bit of curve in it and it's fairly wide all the way along. This one's much skinnier. Very narrow point there, but when I say wider, it's still extremely narrow. It's not even as wide as my thumb, which is why I'm calling it like a needle bow. It could well be quite punchy, but interesting, bit of fun. Like I said in one of my other videos, you can tiller almost anything and it's all good practice. Yeah, you can see I've already put where that thin point is, La Felive, and if you can compare how thin that is with how thick that is, but I'll probably just give it a lick on the belt sander. I'm not going to fanny around trying to tiller it to a nicety. I'll get it rough tillered by eye, and then yeah, I'll make it look nice at the end of the day, but let's try and get it quite close quite quick, just for the fun of it. Sort of thing that will be fun for plinking arrows in here, you know, 10 yards. Right, this is quite a good exercise because I've taken some more off it on the belt sander, and you can see this distance is much bigger than this, which is implying that is now the weaker limb, despite it being the fatter one. The other thing is, because of the bend in the bow, you can see it's trying to go slightly sideways. It's trying to bend this way, but you can see what I've done is I've tried to force the string over to that edge as far as I can. This is something I'm always going on about in videos. You leave the tips wide so you can force the string across to try and correct the string line. So I'll shave wood off this side to push the string across. Because this is a bit of fun, I can also do daft things. I could glue a bit on the side to make this bend back that way and move the knock across, like an overlay but on the side. But it's good fun tinkering with stuff like this, because it teaches you what's going on and how to correct it. The other thing is it's trying to bend this way, so it's bending towards the weaker side of the bow effectively. So if I shaved off along this corner, that would weaken this side, so it tends to move it back across this way. It's a good playing exercise that teaches you what's going on. Just for the record, this is all being done very much on the fly, with a matter of minutes between each little section. So I've got it back on the tiller. You can see that distance is a lot more equal to that. I think I've wasted a good bit of time talking to camera when its batteries run out and it's switched off. Last time I think this distance was a lot less than that. The other thing was, because of the bend in the limb, the bow was trying to bend sideways. And because of that, I've removed some wood off this side. To even up, this limb was stiff. Where I've had to remove wood there, I've actually removed it from mostly this side, which will help it try and counteract that sideways bend. Now on a short bow like this, it's important that you pull it where the arrow's going to sit, because it's so short, unless you're going to grip it, unless you want to pull it from centre, have the arrow at centre and hold it there. But you've got to try and replicate how it will be shot. There we are, let's have a look at that bit. See, it's bending a lot more evenly now, but we're only at £25, I mean. There's 30 at 21 inches, so we haven't got a lot to play with, but you can see we're getting there already. So it just illustrates how you have quite a quick play with a scrap of timber. You can go through the process, you can get your eye in, and on something like this it's working hard, you can see that curve a lot more. She still needs more off here. But yeah, you can have a bit of fun, you can learn a lot quicker, you're not wasting an expensive stage. If I wanted to pull it and see where it broke, I could do that. We could say, right, well, we think that limb's bending more, that's weak, let's just pull it till it goes bang and see where it breaks. Well, I'm not going to yet, I want to get it a bit better. But that's £30, which isn't a lot, but that'll still spit out a light arrow. I've increased the brace height a bit more, that's probably as high as it'll ever get braced. She's still trying to come sideways a little bit, but to give you an idea of how narrow it is, let's measure it. Well, if we take it mid-limb, there's the width, so that is 19.5 millimetres. It's almost as thick as it is wide, so it's 16 millimetres deep and only 18.5 wide, so it's not far off square. So why wouldn't it want to bend sideways? It doesn't know whether it wants to bend forward, sideways, or which way. A bit wider and flatter on this limb. Mid limb, we're looking at 21.5 millimetres there by 15. So the ratio of width to thickness is much better on the lower limb. So it's pretty asymmetric. It's wafer thin in that upper limb. It is what it is, but it lets you have a bit of fun. I mean, sort of square cornered, you know, not rounded yet at all. And let's see. Now, yeah, that right, you see the right limb's coming round more, isn't it? There's £30 at 22. I'm getting a bit nervy now, but let's go to 24. There you are, 24, about 35. Ah, right, you can see the right limb's actually bending more than the left now. It's now showing up stiff here, which by eye you can see, well, it looks stiff there. I don't know if you're seeing that, but it just goes to show you'll see pictures on the internet of people with a bow like that saying, can you comment on the tiller? Well, no, you can't really, because it's not bending enough to see what the hell's going on. And that's why you have to tiller slowly, because the more you come back, you'll start seeing changes. The higher the brace height, you'll start seeing changes. What looks strong at one point doesn't look strong at another when you stress it more. So I reckon if I ease it off a tad there, that's the other thing, having exercised it a bit now, this distance is now greater than that distance. So you can't just make a bow, put a string on it and say, there you are, it's tillered. You have to exercise it, you have to let the wood settle, you have to tease it back, let it find its own state. But this is all being done on the fly with minutes between each little section, which shows you, you know, I normally take, you know, weeks to do a bow, or at least a week. You can have a play, you can work quickly, you can gain experience fast, and you can get your eye in on something like that. It shows up a lot more than on a great big war bow that looks like a gentle curve. The bow's taken a little bit of set, not a vast amount. Some people get worried about set, but I always say to them, I'd rather have a bit of set than a broken bow. And if it's taking no set at all, it implies it could be drawn a little bit further. Anyway, I've taken a whisker off this lower limb where it's showing stiff. We'll pop the string back on and now another shufty. There, that's got it strung. That's looking quite nicely. Still a whisker stiff. Still a bit stiff here, I think. But if I can get it to say 35 at about 27 inches. That's 24. No, it's going to end up at 30, isn't it? That's quite pretty. Take a little bit off there. That's going to be £30 at 27, isn't it? That's close enough for jazz. This should let you see how far out the string alignment is. And if we peer down the bow, we can sort of see, if we line up the tip at the end with the centre, it should be round about here. So we're about the whole width of the tip, we're out, we should be across, you know, another ½ inch, ¼ inch. So what I'll do, just because this is a bit of fun, I'll flatten this edge across here and glue a sliver on the side, then shave away here, and I'll move the tip across to here like an overlay on the side, just for a bit of fun. I mean, it's not something you want to do on a war bow necessarily, but you have to remember there's very little force on the tip of a bow. If you're pulling £35, there's probably £35 hanging on there, but you've got no leverage in terms of foot-pounds trying to snap the tip off. You've got very little. You've got £35 acting at about an inch, which is about 3 foot-pounds, which isn't a lot at all. It's like if you get an arrow shaft and clamp one end in the vise and pull on it, yeah, you'll snap it, but you clamp it on in the vise with just 2 inches sticking out the end and try and break it, you'll have quite a struggle. Right, so I've actually cut a little sliver of yew and a little sliver of ash. I'll glue them together just with rapid epoxy, and then that will get glued onto the side of the bow like that, which will move the tip across quite a lot. So I'm actually going to match it in quite nicely just for the hell of it. I could have just glued on a bit of ash, but it's quite fun to make something as slick and tidy as you can. Now I've got that gluing with a couple of spring clips. They're quite handy, these, for this sort of job. They've got quite a lot of force, and that'll do. 5-minute epoxy for that, but when I glue that onto the tip of the bow, I'll use me decent quality, resin type wood glue and leave it overnight. It's all, a combination of patience and time and what have you. I wouldn't trust 5-minute epoxy just for the main glue line. There you can see I've added on the sort of side overlay. I've left the original groove there so I can match up the new one, and then I'll shave away this side, effectively moving the tip over about 1/4 inch this way. There, that's the side overlay blended in. You can still see the string will be pulling onto some of the original wood that side, which just helps sort of hold it all together. But if we peer down, hopefully you can see the string line will be much improved. I might not have gone quite far enough across, hard to see. I could always do the same on the other end. Bear in mind this is all just a bit of fun, showing you some of the daft things I get up to. But I've tried to match that in quite nicely. I mean, it's not going to be a pretty bow, I'm just doing it for the fun of it. It's the attention to detail. By gluing a bit of ash to a scrap of yew first, then shaping it and gluing it on, it matches up quite well. And this line will disappear as I sand it down a bit more. I'll stick a string on it and see how she looks. It should stop it trying to twist anyway. Now I've put the string on it and I can see already the string line's much better. It's not trying to twist anymore. Gives it a nice little waggle on that far end. Yeah, it was really trying to bend before. The other thing I do is I hang it from a suitable nail and then peer down it like that and let gravity provide a level, if you like. If I can stop the damn thing swinging. Can even drop a little plumb line down and see if from the support point the plumb line touches in the middle. It's just one of the little tricks I do, but anyhow that's looking vastly better. I'll stick it on the tiller. This is the little skinny stick bow. I've moved the tip across. It's still trying to bend slightly this way actually, so I can always move that across another 1/8 of an inch. But I've pinched the string off one of my little flight bows, rather a low brace, but I'll give it a shot. It's not that fast, but they come out very sweet and straight because it's so narrow. There's no need for the arrow to flex around the bow. That's why I can get away with a low brace height. Just a job for plinking into the garage. That was a nice shot. You can feel it starts to stack a little bit as the tips are coming round quite hard at the end. And I was probably only pulling that 26.5, 27 maybe.